You know the scene. You're in a room, someone starts talking, and they just have this presence, a real confidence in their voice, a sureness about them. And you can't help it. You find yourself leaning in, really listening. And maybe you notice they're wearing a crisp lab coat or a pilot's uniform. Or maybe you see a title next to their name: doctor, CEO, professor. It could just be a reputation that you've heard about. These are all symbols, right? And our brains are wired to notice them instantly. Because of those symbols, whatever they say just feels like it has more weight. It seems more important, more trustworthy. It's this automatic, gut-level reaction where you just think, yeah, this person knows their stuff. Well, that powerful, almost magnetic pull of trust, it actually has a name. In this explainer, we're going to dive deep into something called authority bias. It's this mental shortcut that makes us trust authorities sometimes, and this is the crazy part, even more than the actual evidence staring us in the face. So what is it really? Think of it like this. Authority bias is our brain's tendency to put a thumb on the scale. We give more credibility, more weight to an idea, not because of the idea itself, but because of who said it. The status of the person can completely overshadow the substance of their words. And believe me, this isn't some dusty concept from a psychology textbook. It's playing out all around us, every single day, in ways you might not even realize. So let's take a look at how this thinking error shows up right in plain sight. Okay, first stop, the workplace. Just think about the last big meeting you were in. The whole corporate ladder, the hierarchy, it creates the perfect breeding ground for this bias to take over. You've seen it, right? The senior manager or the VP throws out an idea. What happens? Almost instantly, heads start nodding. It's not always because it's the best idea in the room. It's because the senior voice just wins. And who knows how many brilliant ideas for more junior folks never even get heard. Now, it's not just in the boardroom. It's in our living rooms, too, especially when we're scrolling through news or watching TV. We are just flooded with information, and our brains are desperate for shortcuts to figure out who to believe. And let me tell you, titles are one of the biggest shortcuts out there. This is where something called the halo effect kicks in. We see the title doctor, and of course, we trust their medical opinion. But the bias gets us when that same doctor starts talking about, say, the stock market, or a professor of history starts weighing in on public health. Their expertise in one area creates this halo of credibility that we mistakenly apply to everything they say. And this isn't just about small, everyday decisions. This bias operates on a massive scale. When you look back through history, you see it time and time again, a powerful force that can guide entire nations to act in ways they might have otherwise questioned. At its core, the psychology is pretty straightforward. When we defer to an authority figure, we're basically handing over our own responsibility to think critically. We tell ourselves, well, they're the expert, or they have all the information, they must know better. It's a way to outsource our own judgment. So you might be wondering, why are our brains like this? Is it some kind of flaw? Well, not really. It's actually more like we're running on really old software that hasn't been updated for the modern world. Let's dig into why we're actually hardwired for this. See, way back when, for our ancestors, trusting the tribal chief or the village elder was a brilliant survival strategy. It kept the group together, it cut down on risk, and it was efficient. But today, the world is infinitely more complex. The person in charge isn't always the wisest, and, this is key, their interests might not be aligned with yours. That ancient shortcut is just not reliable anymore. And that is exactly where this once helpful instinct turns into a huge problem. When we let this mental shortcut run on autopilot, when we slip into blind trust, things can go wrong, very wrong. Because when you blindly follow authority, you shut down your own critical thinking. It makes us vulnerable to misinformation, it silences the one person in the room who sees a problem, and it can even lead people to justify doing things they know are wrong, all because they were just following orders. When reason gets replaced by rank, mistakes don't just happen, they stale, and they scale fast. So how do we fight back against our own brain's programming? Well, the fact that you're watching this is the first step. Just being aware of the bias is huge. Now, let's get you a practical toolkit for taking back your own judgment. All right, 4 things you can do. Number 1, consciously separate the status from the evidence. A good idea is a good idea, period. It doesn't matter if it came from the CEO or the intern. 2, ask yourself, is this person actually an expert in this specific thing? Are they in their lane? 3, encourage dissent. If you're the one in charge, literally ask, what am I missing here? And finally, this is the big one. Always focus on the reasoning. The why behind a statement is always, always more important than the who said it. Okay, after hearing all the downsides, a totally fair question might be popping into your head. Are we saying all authority is bad? Should we just be skeptical of everyone and everything? And the answer to that is a hard no. Of course not. We need real experts. We rely on skilled doctors, pilots, scientists. Authority itself is not the enemy here. The real danger, the thing we have to watch out for, is unquestioned authority. And that really brings us to the core takeaway. This is the balance we should all be aiming for. Listen carefully, listen with respect, especially to people who have proven their expertise. But you always, always reserve the right to engage your own brain, to question the logic, and to ultimately think for yourself. That, right there, is the key to navigating this incredibly complex world with real clarity.